Now, breaking tonight, GB News can reveal another 500 people have crossed the Channel in small boats today, taking the number this year to 23,360. That's up a whopping 10,000 on last year and comes after a record 1,295 migrants arrived in Britain from France on Monday, the largest number detected on a single day since the crisis began. And they're not just coming by dinghy, are they? On last night's show, we played you exclusive footage from our Home and Security editor, Mark White, showing groups of migrants trying to force their way onto Britain-bound lorries in the port of Calais without much help from patrolling French police, no surprise. So as crossing continued to soar, Nigel Farage said on this show last night, this is no longer a crisis, it is a full-blown emergency.
We're now letting in tens of thousands of undocumented young males. They throw their passports, their mobile phones into the English Channel. We cannot track who they are. We cannot see whether they've got serious criminal records. We are becoming a much less safe country as a result of this. And that's why this is now an emergency.
Amanda Patel, one migrant a minute crossed the Channel on Monday. I'm afraid I do view this as a national emergency.
I think there's something much more fundamental going on here, Dan, is that we've had this crisis of people entering the country, which we used to call illegal immigrants. Now, after the woke brigade got in, we suddenly had to say they are migrants. They're not migrants. They're
asylum seekers.
They're called migrants now, which is a really nice fuzzy word. Actually, they are illegal immigrants into this country. And I think that the nomenclature, is that the way to say it? Did I almost get it, Chris? I got it there in the end. Is that even with the Conservative Party, it has turned into this whole thing is we no longer talk about the fact that it costs us £1.5 billion a year to cope with this illegal migration into our country. That the records are doubling almost daily. Instead, we talk about the people smugglers. We talk about the evil slave trade. We talk about people dying in making the crossing. Well, no one's died for a long time. And what we should be saying is straight out, this is the one point, one of the greatest things that we voted for Brexit for was to take control of our borders. It's got worse since the Brexit vote. And we should now be using the proper language. These are people who are coming into the country illegally, and they should not have any right to stay here. We should not be spending £1.5 billion a year putting them up in hotels when Ukrainian refugees can't even get, who are genuine refugees, can't even get a hotel to stay in.
I mean, Crystal Ho, this is an invasion of our country, because if you think about those numbers that we talk about, this is the equivalent of a small town being created population-wise every single year now. We can't afford for a small town to be created. We don't have the housing.
Nor morally should we.
Well, no, of course morally we shouldn't, but practically as well. This is an invasion of our country.
It's costing £1.7 billion a year just for the hotels. Just for the hotels. So, all the enforcement costs.
He's always outdoing me on this show.
I'm not trying to get bigger numbers than you. But you're totally right. I mean, I think it is a cost on this country. It is a reason why people voted to leave the European Union in 2016. It's complicated because we have a more of a difficult relationship with France, you know, where the way they behave, they can be slightly politicised, I think, their border staff in some ways.
Macron's a disgrace.
I think the Rwanda policy is a good one.
So do I.
I think it's driving numbers across there, and people know that there could be a drawbridge coming up if that starts to work. But we need to see some muscular behaviour from Liz Truss
when they take over.
The Conservatives have been in power now for a very long time. Why is it just getting worse and worse?
Because they won't crack the whip with lawyers. It's the lawyers. It's the
ECHR. And I think we have to treat this as a national emergency. I really do. Ashley James, there is an invasion of our country happening now every day, tens of thousands a year. We can't keep this going, right?
Yeah, I think it is incredibly scary that we have lots of undocumented people coming into the UK. I think it is really important to point out that there are no illegal asylum seekers. Asylum seeking is a legal process of refugee status determination.
Not when you land on the borders.
But there are no...
Actually, they're coming from France.
I understand
the
that.
The vast majority are Albanian. Albania is a member of NATO.
In 2021, France
seekers.
accepted 96,000 asylum seekers, the UK only 48,000. There is a problem with refugees around the world.
So you don't think 48,000 asylum seekers is enough?
No, look, I'm not saying that the way it's not working at the moment, and no matter what side you sit on...
So what's your solution?
Dan, please let me talk.
Well, what is your solution?
So we all agree that nobody should be risking their lives on these illegal crossings on dinghies and basically lots of vulnerable people paying money to people smugglers. But we need actual solutions. And even the Home Office itself did research in 2019 that said things like the Rwanda policy, it's not going to stop illegal crossings. It's just going to make people more desperate and also give more money to these scumbag traffickers who are using vulnerable people. Well, there are lots of solutions. The first thing would be to process asylum seekers faster, and therefore we get the non-genuine refugees out of the country quicker.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, because the civil service and Home Office is underfunded and short-staffed.
It's neither of those actually.
Sometimes
they're just not working.
With some asylum seekers, it's taking 7 years to process their applications. 7 years in which time they're not allowed to work. We've got a shortage in so many, like hospitality, fruit picking. We could put the asylum seekers to work whilst they're
there are legal routes, aren't there?
But there aren't legal routes. If you're from Afghanistan, if you're from Syria, there aren't any legal routes. Tell me what the legal routes are for people from Syria.
There's literally a programme to take a whole load of people.
There isn't.
From any of these.
There isn't.
There is.
There isn't. And by the way, the UK are only accepting 8% of Europe's refugees, and I feel like there's this narrative where everyone wants to come to Britain, and that's not the case. But France, Germany, they are all accepting a lot more people than us.
Do you not understand what happens with these folk from the Channel? They are taking away potential places from genuine asylum seekers who are genuinely in Syria or genuinely in Afghanistan. All of these folk are in France, number one. So they're in France. I'm sure you agree France is a perfectly safe country.
Crossings
what
to get
from Albania?
No, but also we have to remember, I agree, by the way, that a lot of people coming from Albania are economic migrants, and of course they are not general asylum seekers, but a lot of those Albanians are also being trafficked, so they are also victims, and I think that's really important to say, because, you know, they are then going to get brought in basically as slaves
I still haven't heard what your solution to this is. What, throw the doors open and allow
I'm not saying
asylum seekers to work?
No, but we are bound by international law to accept asylum seekers. We need to process them faster. We need to get them working so that they can earn a living. Because
once you get them working, they get legitimised.
But at the moment, we're losing them, and that is a huge security risk, because then you're getting potential criminals being let into the country.
Well, potential terrorists.
But there are also
potential terrorists.
Yes,
potential anyone.
It's a huge issue. We all agree it's a huge issue, but there are also lots of unaccompanied minors, sex trafficking victims. You know, these are people, and at the end of the day, we are all human.
But statistically, the bulk are young males, Amanda.
This is you've read my mind, Dan. We've been doing this too long together.
Wait, Lynn.
My favourite statistic is it came out last week. It said that something like 40% of all illegal immigrants, which is what I will continue to call them, got let through the system as teenagers when they were over 30. So you've got a 6-foot bloke with a full beard and all of his working parts fully developed, and our idiots in our system. So, oh no, if he says he's 15, he's 15. They were over 30.
There's a lawlessness to this.
There is, and I'm not sure what Labour's answer is to it. You're pushing Ashley now. What?
They don't have one. Did you see?
I'm not sure there is one. I think this
person was on with Nigel Farage last night.
Number one.
No solution.
Safe legal routes, faster processing, and allow asylum seekers to work, and then kick out the non-genuine refugees quicker, and then we're not losing people in the system.
If the Tories can grip this, and they have had long enough to do it, this is a chance for being a bit different to Labour in the next election.
But Chris, realistically,
it could be an absolute.
It could be an election winner.
I know. If in the 2 and a bit years Liz Truss has as Prime Minister, she can get Rwanda up and running. She can get other countries doing this as well. She's talking to India and various other countries. If she could do that,
but she's got to show balls.
By the way,
she's got to show true balls because it needs Suella
Braverman
as Home Secretary saying, ECHR, we're out. It's the only way this is going to happen.